got to get to this 49ers, K Walker. We got to talk about your team. I know last week we said that we would ask you a question about this week. And I need Tony up in here. Hopefully he pops up sooner and later, because he was looking forward to this.
Oh yeah,
Um,
forgot about that.
but but the question was, would you prefer Debo or Brandon Ayuk? But before we get to that, news popped up. So I guess this is great timing, because news came out today that 49ers wide receiver Brandon Ayuk has officially requested a trade from the San Francisco 49ers. I guess due to they couldn't negotiate on the long-term extension. K-Walk, I'm actually going to save you last, or almost last. Jay, I'm going to come to you first. What are your thoughts on Brandon Ayuk's trade request?
From his standpoint, I understand it, right? Because that's what everybody wants nowadays, especially if you're a productive player. You want some security, right? Especially in the NFL when you're going into the last year of your contract. In the NFL, it's not if you get hurt, it's when. When are you going to get hurt? So I can understand. Very productive player. I saw a breakdown of his numbers. Like, he's leading the NFL in a lot of different categories in terms of like the breakdown of his route running, his pass catching, long distance catches. Like, he's leading the NFL in a lot of different little category breakdowns. So he wants his money. Look, I don't know, and K Walk will have a much better perspective on this than me, but I just think when you have really good players, if there's anything you can do to keep them from walking out the door, that's probably what you should do. So I get it that he wants a trade, but if I'm San Fran, I'm going to do everything I can to keep him, because yeah, obviously he's a really good player, but he also makes that offense better as a whole. And yes, they've got a bunch of other good players, but I think they're better off with him than without him. So I try to do what I can to keep him, but I understand it from his standpoint.
Yeah, I agree. I do think they're better off with him than without him. He's a fantastic player. It took me a minute to catch on to the Brandon Ayuk train, but then I started really paying attention. I was like, man, this guy gets open whenever the heck he wants. He's a beautiful route runner. To me, he's the best route runner on the team, by far, in my opinion. But he got to get paid. He's worked his tail off to get here. He wants to provide for his family. I thought maybe they could be somewhat close. And I guess it's just a balance thing, or just trying to weigh your I guess your thoughts. I'm not sure how to say it, but whether I should stay. This is a Super Bowl contending team. I should stay here. I know I could win here potentially, but also I need to take care of my family. So it's just which one outweighs the other. In his mind, it's probably I need my money. I would like to have my money, or at least closer to my number. It may not be exactly what I want, but at least closer to my number. And they had this issue. Honestly, I'm not really sure if he'll still go anywhere. I'm still not sure yet, because I'm pretty much sure they had the similar issue with Debo just a couple years ago. Then he asked for a trade as well. I cannot recall. So, and training camp didn't even start. I think late summer they came to an agreement, or right before training camp they came to an agreement, something like that. And next thing you know, Debo is there to stay. So I still think there's hope. I'm still not sold that he's going to go anywhere just yet. Not until I hear something. Brandon Ayuk has been traded to such and such, because I just think it's a cat and mouse game. It's a negotiation. Here's your number. Here's my number. Okay, we're too far apart. But if you're serious, all right, well, he's serious about getting traded. Let's come a little bit closer. Let's see what we can do. Maybe somebody else on the team is willing to restructure their contract, not necessarily take a pay cut, just restructure their deal so we could fit you in there. But I do think that the 49ers are better with Brandon Ayuk than they are without Brandon Ayuk. But K-Walk, this is your team. You follow this team. The ins and outs of the 49ers. What are your thoughts on the Brandon Ayuk requesting a trade?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I really do get it. I'm really, it's a 49er fan. You're sick of hearing all the drama, so we want something to happen one way or the other. I agree with you guys. I mean, you want a Brandon Ayuk on your team. Obviously, you're a better team with him than you are, without him. He's come out and pulled a Debo, if you will. He kind of, wants to get this thing done, and we understand that. The 49ers have not budged from their number, and right now, from what I'm hearing, it's like 25 million. He wants around 30 million. So I don't understand where we can't meet in the middle. somewhere right there. So they're about 5 million, 2.5 million apart, however you want to look at it. But that's what each side, that's their number, and neither one are willing to budge from it at this point. Now, the thing with Brandon Ayuk, he doesn't have any leverage, zero leverage, zero leverage. For one, he still has a year on his contract. Two, the 49ers can trade him, could trade him to wherever he wants. I mean, wherever they, deem fit, or whatever the best deal is for him, not necessarily to, to accommodate, his wishes, if he does have a destination in mind. And two, if the 49ers, he plays through his final contract or final year of his contract, the 49ers next season can franchise him.
Right.
And if he does that, they could do it again this following season. So, right now, Brandon Ayuk has zero leverage here. I get it. He wants to get paid. I believe he should be paid. And the 49ers have a number. Again, as I stated earlier, they have a number, but they just don't want to budge off of that, because they're preparing for the big, the Brockbuster, if you will, and that's Brock Purdy. They know they have to pay this man upwards around $500 million, is what I'm hearing right now. If he continues to play, like he did in the first 2 seasons of his career, they're talking about $500 million for Brandon Ayuk. Yeah, they restructured a couple of contracts to get under the cap, but then they extended Christian McCaffrey, rightfully so, because he arguably, he was the offensive player of the year. I mean, the MVP of that team. But there's so many different plays. All of those pieces fit in place very well. There's no offense without Debo. There's no offense without Mike McCaffrey. There's no 49er offense without Brandon Ayuk. This all fits really well. But right now, Brandon Aiyuk is trying to say, listen, all right, I'm done with this. I want to be, he keeps saying that he wants to be there. His family's there. He loves it there. But I think he's just tired. He just wants to get back to playing football, and he has to stick to his guns. I get it from both sides. Now, Britt, do we want to be Debo or do we want Aiyuk? I mean, I think right now you would want, you have to go with Debo. I just think the reason why you go with Debo, because if you looked at it from last season, when the 49ers went on that 3-game losing streak with Cleveland, with Minnesota, and with Cincinnati, they lost 3 in a row, and the common denominator there, or lack thereof, was Debo. As soon as Debo comes back, that offense starts to click again. And when Brandon Aiyuk was out against the Giants last season, we saw that the young kid out of Michigan, Ronnie Bell, stepped in and not did the same thing, but pretty much did the same thing as Aiyuk. So you asked me if I rather have Aiyuk or Debo, I'd rather go Debo, because there's so many different things that you can do off of that. Not to mention, they drafted the young kid out of Florida, Ricky Pearsall, as well, and he's a great route runner. He has great hands. I know he's not a Brandon Aiyuk. He has Brandon Aiyuk traits, but he's a rookie, so you can only rely on that for so much. But that's my take on the whole situation.
So, K-Walk, I do have another question. So, if Brandon Aiyuk is traded, wherever team he gets traded to, I guess we could discuss that next. Do you think the Niners go out and get another receiver, or do you think Ricky Pearsall is truly ready right now at this moment to fill in that role or that position? Because the 49ers are in contention. They are a contender. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think they actually have to go and get a veteran receiver, someone you can bring in there, immediately. The guy down in Vegas, number 17. I think he would love to be there. He would love to be there. So yeah, if you could get, and I looked at his numbers, and his numbers fit well right now as far as the contract goes. I'm talking about Devontae Adams, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not sure what I'm talking about. If you could bring him in somehow, get a deal and bring him in. But yeah, to answer your question, Britt, you absolutely have to replace him with a veteran receiver, someone who can stretch the field, someone who can win one-on-one matchups, if you will, because as good as Ricky Pearsall looks right now in camp, he's actually hurt right now. They're very vague on it. It doesn't seem serious, but right now he's injured. But nonetheless, you bring a veteran there who can win those one-on-one matchups, like an Aiyuk, who can stretch the field as well to open up the short and the intermediate routes, things of that nature. So yeah, absolutely bring in a veteran receiver there.
Jay, you have any thoughts on the same question?
No, I mean, I agree with K Walk. I just don't know, like, this late in the game,
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the
what
only
kind
thing
of
about it.
quality you're really going to
Yeah.
get. Like if you're trying to get a
Right.
veteran, I'd be hard pressed to believe that you're going to get one of those top notch guys or somebody that can sort of match the skill set of an Ayuk. So it's going to be interesting, Britt. And also, and I don't know, K Walk, tell me if you disagree with this, but I think on some level, Shanahan and I don't want to say the 49ers as a whole, but I do think Shanahan maybe sort of has it in his mind that I'm a great coach, I'm a great offensive coordinator. I can plug somebody in that
Yeah.
spot and still draw
Yeah.
stuff up and we're going to be okay.
Mhm.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they just said, "Hey, next man up. This is a system. We'll plug a guy in our system and he's going to be productive." So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's why
Now,
they drafted. That's why Parasol number one overall. Now, just keep in mind too, ladies and gentlemen, that immediately after that report broke, as far as Brandon Ayuk requesting a trade, the 49ers immediately say, "Listen, we're not. We run him here. He's not going anywhere." The Patriots reached out to the 49ers to
mhm.
check his availability. The 49ers immediately said he is not available. Just to keep that in mind as well. So throw that out there
Yeah.
uh, for you as
And if
well.
they're going to play hardball, you're right. I mean, he has no leverage. If they're going to play
Zero,
hardball and say we're not
zero.
trading you,
Mhm.
he's either going to play for whatever he's going to get this year, or he's going to sit out. But
Mhm.
he really can't force their hand if
No.
they're going to
But
be stubborn.
so here's my question to you guys. If they're stubborn, if they're going to play hard, is that what you do? You want that potential issue within your locker room? Like you potentially have a good thing going on. It seems like everybody's healthy. Do you really want? And let's be for real. He's a important player to the team. Do you want one of your important pieces to be unsatisfied or dissatisfied in the
Never.
locker room? We don't know how that's going. And Brandon Ayuk, he seems like a cool guy. He seems like he'll be professional about it. But at the same time, when it comes down to money, things can always change. When it comes down to say, hey, they don't want to pay me, neither, they also don't want to trade me or they don't want to get anywhere close to my dollar. Do you think that organization want that issue within that
No.
locker room?
No, absolutely not. Especially when you talk about the 49ers. I mean, or any organization for that matter. No one really wants that headache. Everybody wants, everything to work out. In a perfect world, you give Brandon Ayuk what, you feel like you deserve. But you have to understand that from a 49ers standpoint, and I know Brandon Ayuk is not looking at it because he has his own family and he has his own life that he has to take care of. And then we get that. But
Right.
the 49ers, they have to pay all these guys, man, so they can get back to where they were, where they ended up last season, in the Super Bowl. And you have to pay all these guys, and again, as I mentioned earlier, they have to pay Brock Purdy. That's coming up. They're preparing for that. And then there's talks about other guys. They have to extend as well. There's several guys that have taken pay cuts. George Kittle being one of them, Trent
Mhm.
Williams being one of them. Juice, the fullback, has taken a pay cut. So and Fred Warner as well, to make sure that they bring everyone back, as much as they possibly, as many guys as they possibly can. So no, to answer the question again, Brett, they definitely don't want a disgruntled quality player, key guy. I mean, he's like you mentioned
Mhm.
earlier, Britt. He's by far the best route runner on the team. Well, maybe Parasol has something to say about that, but going forward, I mean, right now, as far as guys are coming back, he's the best route runner. He can beat one-on-one coverage without question. So you don't want a guy like that disgruntled by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I just don't. I guess I'm a little too cautious in trying to not saying that you guys are doing. I personally don't want to undervalue and burn out you because when I watch the
No.
team and I watch his importance to the team, yes, Debo is a receiver turned into the running back quick. We know what Debo could do. We know how he could help to open up the offense. But when I watch Brandon Ayuk on film or just watching the highlights, he's open a lot of times.
Yeah.
It's just that half the time, maybe Brock Purdy doesn't see him, or he just doesn't have enough time to get him the ball. He was open a few times in the Super Bowl, um,
Yeah.
and it's just showing how talented Brandon Ayuk. And this is why I said a couple years ago, I was like, well, wait a minute, I undersold on Brandon Ayuk
Mm-hmm.
myself, and so I started to pay attention. I'm like, man, this guy's route running abilities is really that good because majority of the time he's open. I'm just not sure. And I seen the talent that Ricky Parcell has coming from Florida. I'm not sure if he can do what Brandon Ayuk can do at this moment. And
Right.
then being that the 49ers have not paid Brock Purdy yet or have not paid maybe is it just it's just Brock Purdy, I believe,
Just
right now.
Brock right now. Yeah, Brock.
I'm not sure how that's going to impact the roster once he gets paid. It might not have
Right.
no
The
impact at
window is
all.
closing. You're absolutely right. The
Right,
window is closing right now for the 49ers.
right,
There's no question about there was no question about that. But when you talk about a Brendan Ayuk and you talked about the Super Bowl, him being open and Brock not seeing him, Brock goes through a progression. There's every time a passing play is called, and Jay knows this, you there is, you got your first option, second option, so forth and so on, and you go through your progressions. Brendan Ayuk on those certain plays may have been the
right,
third read on that if the first two weren't open. And I think that's what it ultimately is about, because if he's the first option, you're getting rid of that ball as quickly as you possibly can to Brandon Ayuk, because you expect him to win, those matchups each and every time. But just in defense of Brock Purdy and defense of Shanahan saying that they're not giving him the ball, they didn't give him the ball, he was wide open. He just wasn't in that progression. Brock
right.
wasn't able to get to that progression, or he thought the number one or number two option was open, available there. Because he'll be a
Yeah.
fool not to throw to a wide open Brandon Ayuk.
Right. And the prime example is when you guys played us in the NFC Championship, and I seen him running wide open on that
Yeah.
James Bradbury side. I was like,
Yeah.
James Bradbury is trash. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Did I say
Well, I don't know. He's trash. No, he makes a
I'm
lot.
just
Brandon
kidding.
Ayuk makes a lot of
I'm
people look trash. I don't know if he was taking a shot at Ayuk or
not not I said Brandon Ayuk. I'm sorry. James
no.
Bradbury.
You said Brad. No, you said Bradbury.
Oh, I did
You
say
said
Bradbury.
Yeah,
Okay.
you did. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, no. No, I was just laughing because when Debo said it, and I was like,
Oh.
how he trash? And I'm like, well, crap. He does have everybody running wide open on that side. He's not trash, guys. It's just, I'm just saying that. All right, guys, real quick. Greg said trade him to Cleveland. I don't even know if we want to sign Cooper. Interesting. But who would the 49ers get for him? Would it just be draft picks? Like
In this
would it
case,
be-
if they go Cleveland, that's a draft pick. Maybe you could throw Amari in there. Mari's a heck of a route runner too if he's healthy.
I would take Amari
Yeah,
Cooper.
Amari Cooper. Yeah, because you got a vet. I mean, that's a vet receiver. He knows how to get open, and you got Ricky Pearsall and waiting in the wings as well. So yeah, I would do that, but I need a little bit more than Cooper though. I need a little bit
Oh
more than
yeah,
Cooper.
for sure, for sure. But I do think Dallas kind of undervalued Cooper, and we seen what happened after Cooper was gone until CeeDee Lamb was able to pick things up. What's going on, Band Down Sports? What's going on, Mel?
What's up, brother? What's up, brother?
All right, we got one from the one and only Princess. Hey, Princess.
What's up?
We got to get you on here soon. She said we could see this coming with Brandon Aiyuk, right? Or with someone on the 49ers team. The team has a lot of players to lock up with contracts. I agree, Brittany. I like Aiyuk versus Debo. Any thoughts on that, guys?
No.
I guess you could say you could see it coming. I mean, as K Walk kind of alluded to, that Brock Purdy contract just lingering, and if he plays, if he plays like he did last year, you're going to have to pay him. That's just the nature of the beast.
Right.
So they have to be looking forward. But I would disagree in terms of liking Aiyuk versus Debo. I think the versatility that Debo provides. And not just that, but I think there's a certain attitude that he brings to the offense when he plays, the physicality and just the attitude, the energy that he provides. That's why I would, if I was choosing between the two, I feel like Debo's just adds a little bit more value, but they're both fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon Aiyuk is a little bit more on the reserve side to himself type of side, but again, he's a fantastic player. But Brandon Aiyuk, you're right, Jay. That attitude sometimes it gets on my daggone nerves. I'm like, sit down.
Yeah. Aiyuk is a better wide receiver, but Debo is a better football player.
Better football player. Yep.
And Yak. Yards after catch.
Yeah, after catch, yes.
Or way better than Aiyuk on that one. All right, guys. Any final thoughts on K-Walk's team?
No, but we'll take him in Dallas if he don't want to stay in.
I got no money for him. I can't even pay the local vendor out there, man. Y'all trying to get
What you mean? You can't afford him, Jay.
That's what I'm saying.
Jay, I need you to get okay. We're gonna have a conversation real quick. All right. So what happened was they decided to overpay a few players, and now what happens is they running in the red. So it means you broke. You ain't got no money.
They're running red right now.
You got 3 stars you can't pay, and I already heard CeeDee Lamb is like, I'm not coming to training camp. you got a problem on your
We'll
hands
see what
there.
happens. We'll see what happens.
All right, guys, let's move on to the next football team. This actually just came out. I think it's actually it's supposed to air tonight on Hard Knocks with the Giants. It came out that the New York Giants actually offered Saquon Barkley, running back Saquon Barkley, the same amount as the Eagles offered him, but he still decided to choose to go to Philadelphia. When I seen this on, I think I seen it on Twitter. When I seen it on Twitter, and I think Bleacher Report also had it as well. It is. That was intrigued by me because he did say that he wanted to stay. So I just want to get your thoughts on this entire situation. K-Walk, I'm gonna come to you first.
Yeah, I didn't see that. You brought that to my attention right before the show, Britt, and I did not see that. I watched the first 2 episodes of it. So, but you said it airs tonight on tonight's episode. So to hear that, to hear that, Britt, you got to wonder. Did Saquon go back to the Giants and say, "Listen, I have this offer on the table from." Wait, they offered him the same contract after. Is what happened there? I'm like,
We don't
who gave him
know.
the offer first?
We don't
Do
know
you know that?
exactly who
Oh,
offered
okay.
what first, but we
Okay.
do know it was stated that the Giants offered him a 3-year, I think it was $37 million contract or $36 million contract. I
Okay.
think it was about 25 guaranteed. The Eagles offered him 3 years, 36.75 with
Okay.
26 million guaranteed. But with the Eagles, he can make up to like 46. So that could have been a difference as well. But it's still
Yeah.
similar contract.
Okay, so with that being said, so they had to have known what Philly offered them. So at some point, I guess it doesn't really matter what order, but at some point they knew. So I wonder if a Saquon went back to say, listen, this is what the Eagles are giving me. Can you match this or do better? I want to stay here, or maybe he didn't want to stay there. I want to hear that full. I got to hear that full story as far as why he made that choice and what could have the Giants have done to keep him here. Was it to give him more money, more guaranteed money, more years, or one more year, I should say, or more annual money? I don't know. I want to hear the whole breakdown of that. But if they were not willing to move on it and they had an opportunity to do that, then shame on them. I know the last episode they were talking about they didn't really think that he would get that money on the market. They didn't believe that he would get that money. So good for them, man. I mean, good for Saquon that he was able to do that, and not only to lose a Saquon Barkley, but to lose him to a division rival. That that stings even more. But
Right.
yeah, it's just a shame on the Giants if they weren't willing to match it or just go $1 more, at least $1 more, give them a better deal.
Right. Yeah. For me, if it's the fact that they just offered him the similar contract and Saquon just flat out chose the Eagles, to me, that's telling me a lot more about the Giants and how much, I don't want to say toxic that organization can be, but troublesome, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I'm going to say troublesome that front office could potentially present. Maybe Saquon's like, you know what? You guys aren't helping me. I'm out here. Clearly, we can't even get to the playoffs without me. I'm basically the entire offense, and I'm killing my body in the process. I don't want to do this anymore. And that's very much so a possibility. And of course, Philadelphia did present him with him able to be a little bit closer to home because he is from PA. But if that's the case, that's very interesting because he did say, "I want to stay here. I want to be a Giant for the rest of my life."
He did say that, exactly.
He absolutely said that. So, players do get to their wits' end. Saquon is very reserved. He's very quiet. He basically shows his game on the field. That's how he talks. He doesn't talk much to the media at all. But it could potentially be he got tired of what the organization is doing. Maybe he didn't like their plans. And like I said, he's doing everything he can to try to help this team win, but he's getting hurt in the process, and he's not sure if it's worth it. But Jay, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's probably pretty simple. I think he probably just wanted to go play for a better football team, to be honest. I mean, he's 27 years old. The life of a running back, we know it's short. He's got a long injury history. If he wants a chance at winning something or at least competing for something, obviously Philly's a better option than New York. So I think if the money, assuming like all things were equal or close to equal, and he chose to leave, you got to believe it's because he wants to play on a winning football team. And I think being on the Eagles is better for him too, because he's not going to have to carry the burden of being the entire offense.
Right.
And I think he's going to have a great year if healthy, because you're not going to be able to load up the box and say, hey, if we stop Saquon, we stop the Giants, because there's just too many other weapons on that offense. So winning opportunity, and he'll probably be a lot more productive in Philly. So that's for me, that's probably what it boiled down to.
Yeah, and it's not a big move either, as far as location wise, because they were just right up the turnpike, and they're in Jersey, so he probably has a house in Jersey. He could probably stay there if he liked, because again, it's only a 100 and so miles apart from one another. So it makes perfect sense all around for Saquon.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting, but I'm definitely going to watch Hard Knocks tonight to see exactly why was the reasoning. He potentially could have chose the Eagles, and it could have been that little bit of extra bonus that he can earn. I think it could go up to 46 million, and maybe the Giants didn't necessarily have that in the contract, because people will not tell you that. They try to keep it one-sided.